Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today on Latakin's Nor Kitchen we're gonna make taco stuffed zucchini boats. That's right, zucchini is not very exciting or interesting or fun to eat, which is basically the opposite of a taco. So what we're gonna do here is use the same beef filling used to make tacos, and we're gonna use that to stuff zucchini, to turn something that's generally unremarkable into something I thought was incredibly remarkable. So with that, let's go ahead and get started by prepping our zucchini, and for that we'll be using a classic 3-step method. Oh yeah, the old trim, half scoop and fill, which means we'll trim a little bit of that stem and if needed before cutting these exactly in half lengthwise. And please take your time, right? This is not a game of speed. I really do want these pieces as uniform as possible so that they cook evenly. And then what we do, since trimming and halving is done, is take a small spoon or a melon bowler and we will scoop out roughly half the insides to create that classic zucchini boat shape. And by the way, a lot of recipes says to save those scraps you're trimming and then chop it up and add it to your filling, but I'm not gonna do that because last time I had ground beef taco, that zucchini scraps chopped up into it was never, so I will not using that, and we'll just go ahead and throw that in the freezer so we can use it later on with another recipes. And what we do once our zucchini halves have been prepped is go ahead and boil them in hot water, where the water was salted fairly generously with Himalayan salt or any kind of salt you want. Right, we want to cook this until it's soft to the touch, but at the same time holding its shape, so don't overboil it, and I hate to give time here, so you really have to go by eye. At that point, we can go ahead to prep the filling. I'm gonna peel and dice 4 onions. I love the beet meat a lot with onions, so you can go ahead and use 1 or 2 or whatever you want. Then let's add that to a skillet, which has a little bit of olive oil in it, and let's stir that for 2 to 3 minutes until they soften up and turn translucent. And then to that we'll add 1 pound of ground beef, and we'll toss in some salt, 1 teaspoon, as well as 1 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, and we set that over high heat until our ground beef has been broken into nice small pieces. So once it's nicely crumbled and our onions have turned translucent, we can go ahead and stir in our tomato paste. Toast that to the bottom to get that rich flavor. And by the way, I added about 3 tablespoons of that, and technically, if we wanted to, we can cook this for 5 more minutes and we're done. But if you had extra time, which I hadn't, try to rinse that into half a cup of water and then stir that in. And once it starts boiling, turn your heat down to low and let it simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes. Stirring occasionally, of course, until most of that liquid is simmered out. So you're gonna end up with a nicer texture, and that's it. We go ahead and taste that for seasoning, and if we're happy with it, which I was, we'll simply turn that off and let that sit and cool while we move on to prep our bechamel sauce. So the start to a classic bechamel sauce is what we call a roux. And a roux is a very simple thing. It's flour and butter, and what you need are equal parts of flour and butter, so it will help thicken your bechamel sauce. So I toss in there 3 tablespoons of butter, stir that in to melt, and then what we do next is add in 4.5 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and we're gonna cook that for about 4 minutes or so. And the best tip I'm gonna give you here is cook the roux until it smells like cooked by crust. That way, you know the raw taste of the flour has been cooked, and then it's done. So here we go. The secret to a perfectly smooth sauce is hot roux, ice cold milk. Let me repeat, hot roux, ice cold milk. So let us dump 3 cups of ice cold milk, and because the roux is hot and the milk is ice cold, this will not lump up. And as long as you keep stirring, that cold milk is gonna dissolve that roux and it's gonna totally smooth out. At this point, I'm gonna dump in a pinch of salt with half teaspoon of ground pepper and keep stirring until you have a beautiful, perfectly smooth, silky sauce. In fact, it was smoother than silk, it was more like velour or velvet. At that point, we're gonna toss in 2 tablespoons of cream cheese, which is optional by the way, but you know it's gonna enrich the flavor so much, so I recommend you to use it. And by the way, when you're making white sauce like this, it's gonna be at its maximum thickness as soon as it simmers. So if you're wondering how thick your sauce is gonna be, That's it. When it comes to a simmer, you got it. It's not gonna get any thicker than that. And there we go, a perfectly smooth sauce with no lumps. And once your sauce has been done, we go ahead and in a big Pyrex, I'm gonna spread some of the bechamel sauce to the bottom, and then we go ahead and stack these zucchini in lines so they can be ready to be filled. And at that point, we go ahead and fill those up with as much taco meat as we can fit. As well as we're gonna put on each one of these a spoon of bechamel sauce. And then once they're filled and topped with the sauce, we're gonna top that also with cheese too. A lot of cheese. And what's gonna happen since we're using so much, some of these is gonna melt and drip down into the pan. And as it's baked, it's gonna get beautifully crispy and caramelized. And then once our zucchini boats has been cheesed, toss on that a little bit of chili pepper for that gorgeous color, you know, and then it's ready to transfer into the center of 200-degree oven for about 10 minutes or so, or until our cheese is beautifully browned and our zucchini is barely tender. And how we'll know that? We're gonna poke it with things, right? Things like fork or toothpick or skewer or the tip of a knife. And while we don't want soft and mushy and collapsed, I really do think we want this fully tender, and of course that's just my preference. So if you want to cook these more, go ahead. And once these are done, we go ahead and serve them up next to a rice and a little bit of bechamel sauce if you want as well. And that's it. Our taco stuffed zucchini boats are ready to enjoy. So I grabbed a spoon and asked the captain for permission to come abroad, and I sliced myself off a nice piece, and that, my friends, once it get into my mouth, was a shockingly delicious bite of food. Just absolutely incredible. So you can see what I think is the perfect proportion between our taco meat filling and our perfectly cooked zucchini boat. So I was really thrilled with how this came out. But anyway, that's it. What we're calling taco stuffed zucchini boats is done. Whether you're one of these people that has to trick their family in eating vegetables, or you're just looking for a way to make eating zucchini a little more fun and exciting. Either way, I really do hope you give this a try soon. Thanks for watching. It's a restaurant quality recipe where you can easily make at home. And if you liked my video, please make sure to subscribe, like, follow and share so you can help me get more people to reach Latakians in our kitchen. See you later.